How many of you have ever sat in on one of my lectures before? Just a few, all right. So I have largely a room full of virgins. One of the wonderful things about the latter half of the 20th century, and I'm sure this is something that I share with many of you in this room, is that often we cast ourselves adrift and we take advantage of where we've been and what we've done. Last year, the company that I am CEO of worked in 27 countries across the world, testing stores, sections, restaurants, working with merchants, marketers, bankers, and service providers. Whether I'm working for Mickey House, as I was 2 weeks ago in Osaka, or I'm working for luxury chocolate manufacturer, or we're looking at jewelry at Godiva, at Bulgari, or we're working on luxury cosmetics. When we get a group of executives together, one of the underlying themes is a certain edge of anxiety. Almost all of us were trained in the 20th century to fight wars, whether it was Prada against Hermès, or whether it was Burger King against McDonald's. We were trained to fight wars. And part of what we've done is woken up and not found ourselves in a war anymore, but in what I would characterize as a 21st century bar fight, where in effect we are competing with everyone else for the customer's discretionary expenditure. I don't care where you sit on the general food chain. If I interview somebody walking into the door at Walmart and I interview them coming out, 2/3 of what they purchased they had no intention of buying. If I'm on the Via Veneto or I am in Ginza and I see somebody walking down the street and I assign them a monetary value, it could be spent on luxury goods, it could be spent on food, it could be given to their children, it could have gone on a cruise. When I stand with my Ford motor client, one of the critical pieces I'm yelling at them isn't about what Chrysler or Mercedes is doing. It's about what the luxury carpet merchant next door. Part of our dilemma, too, which is a theme that I will come back and keep hitting on, is that the 20th century was an era where marketers spent a lot of time talking about strategy. We sat up in our conference rooms, we sat at our desks, and we strategized. It was what we were trained to do in business school. The problem is that often the connection between what our strategy was and the reality of the purchase environment on the floor of the store was at some distance. Almost all of us have watched the most brilliant of plans fail for the stupidest of reasons. I have to say in some candor that I think our core luxury retail culture is tired. I have yet in the past 10 years to truly see a new store. We can look at our department store, which has passed its maturity. Will it continue to exist? Absolutely. Might even make some money. But as a retail entity, it is mature. The same thing is certainly true of the big box. The big box merchant has reached their apogee. The mall bowling alley, where much of America's specialty merchants grew phenomenally over the past 20 years, is also at a point where we're asking some fundamental questions. What is it? Part of what the issue is that the customer is us. And that we've forgotten the fact that it isn't marketers leading people, it's people leading marketers. And that retail follows housing trends, it follows an evolution for us in culture. And one of the dilemmas that many of us are facing is that the culture that we are selling into is changing faster than the culture that we're selling out of. Next slide, please. I asked some fundamental questions here. How many of you know somebody, male or female, who is starting their families at age 40? A lot of us do. This is one of the seminal issues that we have, is that we as a culture have either stepped away or are controlling biology to the degree that the classic lines that govern what our purchasing cycles are, what our lifestyle cycles are, while they're still true, they're nowhere near as true as they used to. I had an old girlfriend of mine who was a full professor of anthropology at USC that got married for the first time at age 49. Her husband was 53. They went to Italy on their honeymoon. They weren't very careful. At age 50, she gave birth to her first child. Total normal pregnancy. They're a happy family, but they have wrinkles on all three parties here. Next slide, please.